Welcome, everybody. Why don't you go ahead and put in the chat? I see we have at least one person here from the hurricane path and maybe perhaps in Florida. Tell us where you're from in the Zoom chat. Arkansas, Florida, New Jersey, Chicago. Wow. Connecticut, El Paso, Texas, Michigan, Illinois, Mississippi Gulf Coast, California, Minnesota. Awesome. Toronto. Welcome, everybody. Cuba, Missouri. Okay. It's nice to have a big group. Looks like we're spread out all across the country in different time zones. So this workshop will be an hour and a half. My name is Debbie Henney. I'm the curriculum director for the Foundation for Teaching Economics. And I teach economics at Mesa Community College in Mesa, Arizona, where it's been very, very hot lately. So no, we don't get hurricanes, we don't get natural disasters, but we get a lot of a really long summer. So we're all excited for these temperatures to drop and be below 3 digits, hopefully soon. So today's workshop is on socialism and innovation, and we're going to feature an activity from our newest curriculum called the Realities of Socialism. And then at the end of this workshop, I'll give you a link to the folder that has all of the curriculum, for all the different units, the outlines, all the activities, to kind of tell you how it all fits together. But we'll focus on one of those activities today. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Go.
Okay.
All right. So this activity is from lesson 2. I'm going to show you the folder right now. We broke it up into 3 parts, 3 workshops. Hold on, as soon as I shared my screen, I got to make you guys bigger. There we go. So you can see all your faces. We will be using breakout rooms today for this activity. The activity was written for a traditional classroom, but it can be used virtually, and you'll see how we've adapted it just a little bit to make it work in a virtual classroom as well. So workshop 1, the lessons from workshop 1 feature lesson 1 on just defining socialism, what socialism is. Lesson 2 is a case study all about Poland and their experience with socialism. And then lesson 3 talks about something that the authors of, we partnered with an institute in Canada called the Fraser Institute to create this. And they created some authors to write booklets, like one on several different countries. So one of those countries was Poland. And then the authors define pathologies of privilege, what happens when you in these economies when you get pathologies of privilege and kind of these undesirable outcomes. And so those are the 3 lessons. The 2 activities in lesson 1. Activity 1 is a survey that was actually done as part of the research for this curriculum, where they surveyed people that were in the United States, Great Britain, Australia. I should open this up just to make sure see who I'm forgetting. Canada. Oh, here we go. Here's the country. There we go. I have their flags there. The United States, Great Britain, Canada, and the UK, or Australia. And they surveyed participants among different ages about their feelings about different economic systems like capitalism and socialism and communism. And so we turned that into an activity with students where students answer those same questions. And in answering those questions, then we break it out by different age demographics. And you can find out that there's much different feelings about socialism among the younger generations than there are among older generations. The second activity is an activity called Let's Make It Fair. And so you have the Word documents that explain the lesson outline, all the materials that you need, how to run the activity. But this is an activity where they try to distribute resources, some goods and services, in a fair and equitable way. And they discover how hard that is to do without market signals. In the lesson 2, or workshop, how we broke it into workshop 2, we have lessons on Sweden and Denmark. And those are based off of the books that were written about Sweden and Denmark. And so what we've done in these lesson outlines is we've kind of condensed, 100, 200 page, book into a little summary, maybe 8 pages. Sometimes it might be 15, but we tried to condense it into a teacher version. It could also be assigned as a student reading, but these talk about the experiences that Denmark and Sweden have with socialism and where they are today. And there's 2 activities there. One is the one we're going to do today that we call rocket science, and then another activity called the more the merrier. And so you get the lesson outlines plus the slides. And then in workshop 3, or these are if you were to attend full day workshops, the kind of the materials that we would cover, but you'll have access to all the material, and we still hope you will attend other workshops, but you have these activities as well. The 3rd part focuses on Estonia and Singapore. And then we have 2 other activities called Will the Real Socialism Please Step Forward, and a market simulation that focuses on shortages and how kind of that response, how people respond to shortages. So let's go ahead and jump into today's activity. And so what I'd first like you to do, this is set up like a Pear Deck slide, but since we're going to be using Google Slides, team shared Google Slides today as well, I'm going to keep it to one technology. I'm just going to have you use the Zoom chat for this. In the Zoom chat, tell me what you think the difference is between innovation and invention. So jot some thoughts down and put it in the Zoom chat. What do you think the difference is between invention and innovation? You put your thoughts in there. I'm going to read some of your responses. Invention is creating something new. And then Lauren adds, innovation is revolutionizing ways of life. Rachel says, invention is creating something. Innovation is making something better. Matt says, invention is improving. Innovation is improving on invention. Invention makes life easier. Innovation is groundbreaking, Jennifer said. Invention is a new product or service. Innovation is making a new product or service better. Innovation requires markets, Ray said. Innovation is more broad. Who said that one? Kate. It can include services or combining things in new ways. Invention is something new. Innovation is new approaches, new ideas. Okay. So it seems to be a theme about, as Jill kind of sums it up, invention is something new and innovation is making it better. Here's what we came up with. Invention is a new product or process, and innovation would be the introduction of an invention into a use that has economic value. So you've probably heard about, like, Thomas Edison, for example, had all kinds of inventions. It didn't mean that all of them had value when it came to a marketplace. I remember I think it was one of the Smithsonian museums in DC, looking at a collection of inventions from Thomas Edison. And one of them was this talking doll, which was revolutionary at the time. It looked like something that belonged in a horror movie, but at the time it was too early for its time, and it wasn't something that had value in the marketplace or an economic value. So innovation can take on lots of shapes and sizes, but it's definitely taking an invention and then making it something that is valuable to people. And innovation can be little tweaks at the margin. It can be different ways of using things. We're going to do a little activity where we guess where inventions have been developed, whether it was in a socialist economy or a capitalist or market economy. And so I'm going to share with you a link here in the Zoom chat. If everybody will go to the Zoom chat and click on that link. It's going to take you to some slides that look like this. And we're going to put you into a breakout room. who we have, how many participants we have. So I think let's do breakout rooms. Debbie, if you could get them set up. Breakout rooms where we have 4 or 5 people in a breakout room. And when we send you to a breakout room, you're going to go to the slide that matches your breakout room number. So if you're in breakout room 1, you'll stay on slide 1 where it drops you automatically. But if you're in breakout room 2, jump to slide 2. If you're in breakout room 3, jump to slide 3, and so on. Okay, so you and your group will work on the slide that matches your breakout room number. And you're going to take each of those red terms at the bottom, like flight, and you're going to drag it to whether you think it was in a socialist economy or a capitalist economy. Okay? All right, go ahead and send them to their breakout rooms, Debbie. So I'm just going to click through some groups, and we're just going to see, like, this is group 1. And I could see in group 1, it looks like they have a lot of things put in capitalist economy, and they have 1 space travel put in the socialist economy. Everything for group 2 was in the capitalist economy. Here we have space travel, and then they have a note about that. Does Sputnik count? And then the rest for group 3 couldn't put in the capitalist economy. Space travel and the laser were put for group 4, were put in the socialist economy. And we gave USSR some credit for space travel. It looks like it's put across both of them. Group 6, looks the same. Okay, so that was all of our groups. Now, I forgot to tell you ahead of time, don't look things up. I just wanted you to kind of guess with your knowledge. You will be able to use your phones in the next one, but since I didn't tell you, I don't know if you looked them up or not. I did learn something, and I've forgotten the name already, but at a workshop I learned from a teacher that there is question, I think it was about, which one of these was it? I need to do my homework. I should have looked it up. That one of these inventions was, there was actually a lady inventor that wasn't given credit, and who is now getting more credit for the invention, and that it might not have been what we thought that was in where the invention was the United States. Let me go ahead and show you the actual breakdown, and you guys were pretty close, right on, with space travel being credited to the USSR back in 1957, and all the other inventions you can see over here on the right with countries where they were invented along with the year. Now notice that these are all in the 1900s. We have, let's see, we have one from Canada, insulin. We have the computer from Great Britain, penicillin from Scotland. And years, it looks like the newest one in this list was the microprocessor in the United States in 1971. So why do you think so many important inventions of the 20th century were invented in market-based economies? Go ahead and give me some questions, some ideas in the Zoom chat. Why do you think so many important inventions of the 20th century were invented in capitalist or market-based economies? Kristen says, keeping up or surpassing the USSR, that competition. Incentives, I think. Funding, profit motive, those are similar.
We gonna start working them out. I know you didn't have a read. I was like, I'm gonna have to get somebody working out.
There we go. Let's see. Debbie, if you could help me keep those muted. We have free markets make room for experimentation and innovation, Justin said. Anna points to incentives and the costs and the benefits. Asim says less poverty. So there's more money to invest. Definitely, you can invest more when your basic needs are met, and when you're, it's not easy to do that with poverty. Profits and the freedom to profit. Bill said money. Ability for anybody to do anything, Tiffany said. There were simply more capitalists than socialists, Kate pointed out. Freedom. Markets are more efficient. Heavy investment in the Cold War. A change in needs, Jennifer says. Opportunities, Quanta said. Okay, we're going to do the next part of this activity. That was the 20th century. We're going to bring it into the 21st century. And I want you to think about inventions that have happened since the year 2000. and come up with a list of 4 to 6 inventions or innovations of the 21st century. Include any, if you can, sometimes it's hard to decide if something is an invention or an innovation. I get that. It's kind of a gray scale. Sometimes, you know, nothing is new and it's built on lots of other ideas that predate that. So, but whatever the invention is that you come up with, if there's any innovations that you can think of that have happened since then, I'm going to ask you to add those to the table as well. And so I'm going to give you another link. You already are ready with ideas in the Zoom chat. Okay, go to the Zoom chat and click on the link I just put in the Zoom chat. And that's going to take you to a slide that looks like this. Make that bigger. And there's a column for the invention and any subsequent innovations, and then who or where was it invented. So if you can come up with a name, that would be great, at least the country where it was invented. And so you're going to come up with 4 to 6. Don't start yet. Who's the anonymous badger that's already starting? wait till I put you into your breakout rooms. If you go to breakout room 1, again, you're going to use the slide 1. If you go to breakout room, use slide 2, go to slide 2, and so on, okay? And if you go to breakout room 1, oh, you almost had some free answers, but those might be taken to a different room. So Debbie, this time when we send them away, still put 4 or 5 in a breakout room, but let's shuffle them up so they can work with different people this time, okay?
All right.
Thank you. And go ahead and send them away when you're ready. Welcome back. Okay, can you still see my screen? Am I still sharing? All right, these are your group slides. And I think I'm on slide group 6 right here. We're going to start with team 6. So if somebody from team 6 wants to speak for the group, we have Christina, Jennifer, Jonathan, and Kate. Who wants to speak on some inventions you guys came up with? Just volunteer and unmute your mic.
So we put artificial organs, electric cars, AI, and then cloning.
Okay. And I see artificial organs. You had an innovation like the dialysis machine.
Mm-hmm.
But the inventor of artificial organs was from the Netherlands?
Yeah, he had actually done the dialysis machine too.
Oh, okay. How about electric cars? You guys had an innovation that happened from that was self-driving, but you didn't have where that was invented. Did any other team come up with electric cars? And where do you know where that was invented? Asim, do you guys know? Did you guys find out where that was invented? Shaking his head now. Anybody else find out where?
Germany.
Where was it?
Germany.
Germany. Okay. And then Kate, you guys had AI. Is that credited to the United States?
They were crediting it to this John McCarthy, who was from California.
And there's lots of innovations happening with AI. So you guys had natural language processing and face recognition. I saw AI on a lot of the other groups, so we'll let you share your innovations when we get there. Political discourse, was that invented? Okay. All right, let's go to group 5. Somebody from group 5 who wants to speak. So let's see. Group 5, this would be Alicia, Kristen, Rachel, and Ray. Who wants to speak up for your group? Somebody be brave.
I got you.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
So when we looked up electric cars, it actually said like one of the first ones was made by like a guy from Iowa. But it might have been based off the German one, but you know, still same thing, you know, the capitalist. We also threw in a GPS using the, you know, a little bit more of the wide scale thing, being able to use it for social media, use it for tracking flights, weather patterns, things like that.
Awesome.
Because of the events of September 11th, we know the TSA and the utilization in the airports, improving, you know, those scanners, all the 50 scanners you have to go through and the pat downs and
yes, more innovations that came from that. Long lines are probably a consequence, right?
Yeah, that's And then we were thinking about like the Ozempic thing that's been coming out. That actually originated in Denmark. Having like that weight loss, the appetite suppressor things that they have. And they're inspiring more different ones, like different brands and different, things like that. And then smartphones, we're talking about like, iPhones or, Android using Bluetooth, better batteries, incorporation of, the touch screen instead of the Blackberries. If you guys remember the Blackberries, those were
Yes.
good.
I remember you're right with batteries. I remember when batteries didn't last very long.
Yeah.
Okay. And it looks like, so all of yours were the United States except for Ozempic. We'll go to group 4. Group 4, this is Chassie, Jill, Lauren, Milan, and Quanta. Who wants to speak for your group? Tell us about your inventions you came up with.
Sorry, I thought I unmuted. I'll go ahead and speak.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jill. Go for it.
We didn't really use our phones to look things up. We thought you said we could, but we didn't know. So we don't know who and where these were invented.
Okay.
These were just something that we like thought of.
Okay.
And of course, we came up with like Uber, and then innovations for self-driving cars, social media, and then obviously like Facebook, Twitter, you got all those, and then AI, Chat GPT. We weren't positive if drones are something new to this century, but we thought so. And then we went ahead and did fitness watches, and then of course from that you get the Apple Watch, which is better than the newest versions. And then we thought about even those Oura rings that kind of tell you your heart rate and all those.
Yeah, that is an innovation that's come from that. Now instead of a watch, it can just be a ring. Okay, very good. Let's see, we'll go to this is group 3. So this is Asim, Jennifer, Justin, and Tiffany. Who wants to tell us about your invention?
I just edited it, so I'll just take over because we were the same. Like we weren't sure if we were supposed to or not, so we did it.
Thanks,
and then I googled a little bit while you were talking.
All right.
So I think the ones that haven't been said. So we talked about online learning and the subsequent innovations. And so it started at the University of Phoenix. Our group was struggling because we kept saying that the 20th century was amazing and there was all these great things. So University of Phoenix actually started this in the late 1990s. So that's technically still 20th century. But I think, digital platforms like Google Slides, Peer Deck, Zoom, those are hopefully still 21st century as well. 4G, sorry, go ahead.
They definitely are.
Yeah. 4G, 5G. I thought it was in the United States, or we thought it was the United States, and then I Googled it and actually started in Oslo and in Stockholm. So that's something different. And then drones. So commercial drones, from what I saw, there's 3 countries that lay claim to it. So both all 3 are France, Austria, and China. And the 3D printer was something that definitely brought about a lot of new companies that are doing fast production. So many of them are in the United States, but also like stuff like Temu, which is in China as well. So most of them we found in the West.
All right. Thank you, Team 3. We'll go to Team 2. This is Gregory, Carrie, and Matt. Who wants to speak for your group?
We were kind of in the same boat as the previous group. We just started listing off inventions. We really didn't check to see. I just did as people were talking, but kind of the same mix that people had. So Uber and then self-driving cars. And I Googled real quick who invented Uber, and it said Garrett Camp and Travis Kalanick in the US. And then the iPhone and Steve Jobs. And then through that, iMessages, Apple Watch, iPad, iPods. And then I thought of Scrub Daddy. I show Shark Tank in my econ classes. It's obviously a sponge that, people use in their kitchen. When it gets cold, it gets hard. When it gets warm, it gets soft, or vice versa. And I think that's the most successful product that was pitched on Shark Tank, and that was Aaron Cross in the US, and then social media and the various platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, blockchain, crypto. I don't know who created that. And then 3D printing and the subsequent innovations as a result of that. And then ChatGPT and all the various other AI tools that, we're starting to see in education and in the workforce.
Yeah. My son had an English assignment due last night, and he put it into ChatGPT and he uploaded the rubric, and he said, grade my essay based on this rubric. And ChatGPT said he got an 81%. So he went back and edited some things. So I thought, I haven't heard of ChatGPT being used that way before. Okay, and blockchain. You guys are the first ones that did blockchain, and I think nobody knows who the inventor. That's kind of secrecy around who the inventor of the blockchain and or what's the cryptocurrency I'm thinking of. Put it in the chat for me. I'm having a break. There we nope. What's our Bitcoin? Thank you. I don't know why I lost that word. Okay, let's go to group one. Anna, James, Jeff, Mackenzie, and Nydia. Who wants to speak for your group, for group one? Come on, somebody.
All right, I'll go ahead. Although I'm not too sure about all these. It was kind of a concerted effort here. Everybody kind of contributed who invented what. But a lot of these have already been mentioned, like 3D printing. And we notice that, well, one of the bad things is people create guns now. And but you can also use it for good stuff like creating a home. And probably might be a lot of homes in the future created that way. AI is great. We were discussing about some of the educational materials and some of the programs you could use now to help you to create lessons or modify lessons, which those are tools I use all the time. Man, I wish they had been out a few years ago. Time savers for sure.
Yeah.
And of course, smartphones, smart TVs, smart everything, smart fridges, probably a smart toaster somewhere. And it's amazing what they could do. And robots, those are coming in the future. So those
Do
are.
you know where Da Vinci and Kaufman were from? The inventors of the humanoid robots?
Yeah, somebody looked that up. It wasn't me, so I'm not sure all about that.
Anybody knows where that was from? Put that in the chat.
I'm going to guess the person's from Italy. I don't know, Da Vinci name.
Yeah, they don't look necessarily the American names. Okay, and then you also had streaming services on there, which is something that's been changing a lot, and lots of new services, and but it's definitely changed the way we consume media for sure.
Sure, probably could add Zoom to this.
Yes, yeah. I know. Who wants to go to an in-person meeting anymore, right? All right, great job, you guys. So do you see the same trend in the 21st century inventions that you noticed with the 20th century inventions? Do more of them seem to be happening? Do more of those inventions seem to be occurring in market-based economies as opposed to socialist economies? What do you think? You can put your thoughts in the chat, or you can just unmute and speak up. Few socialists, but mostly market-based, as he said. We see the same trend, markets for the win. Yes? Yeah, and to be fair, China is not truly socialist, as he said. While you point to them often as the socialist economy, they have lots of markets. Every economy in the world today is really a mixed economy. It's just to what degree do they have more socialism or more market-based economies. So, all right. For this next one, we're going to step back in time and we're going to solve a mystery. And this is a mystery. We're going to go back to when the Soviet Union, instead of Russia, it was the Soviet Union. And in 1920, shortly after the communist takeover, the USSR had only a 25% literacy rate, but the Soviet state-run school system effectively transformed the nation into one of the world's most educated. By 1950, there were 1.2 million university-level students. By 1980, the literacy rate was one of the highest in the world, outranking those of the United States and many Western European nations. By 1985, the Soviet Union had over 5.4 million students and one of the largest bodies of scientific researchers in the world. 1.5 million research scientists were paid by the state. The world's scientific community had nothing but praise for the Soviet technical education. At the fall of the Soviet Union, some American educators worried that this superior system of education would be destroyed by the collapse. Indeed, the collapse of the USSR actually set off a kind of competition for Soviet scientists. A technology scouting company, Scientific Dimensions, was started by a New York patent law firm specifically to locate and hire Russian scientists and inventors. Against this picture of sophisticated knowledge is the dismal economic reality of life in the Soviet Union. Here was a country that in 1990 had an untold wealth of natural resources and was comparable to the US in many respects, but it could not offer its citizens anything remotely close to the standard of living Americans enjoyed. The Soviet GNP was 2.6 billion, and per capita income was a discouraging $9,211. That was less than half the US output of 5.2 billion per capita income of 21,000. Infant mortality rates in the USSR had risen from 22.9 in 1971 to 33 of 1,000 in 1989. And in rural areas where a third of Soviets lived, half of the hospitals had no sewers and 80% had no hot water. Given their resources and their intelligence, why weren't the Soviets rich? Why were their incomes half that of Western economies? So here are your directions. We're going to put you into another group. Debbie, if you want to get the breakout room, same size, but we'll shuffle them up again so they get to work with different people. When you go into your group, your instructions are that I'm going to give you a set of clues. And so let me put those clues right now. They look like this. Let me go back and get the link. Go over here to my notes to get the link. Oh, it's coming up. I'll give you the link to the clues in just a minute. So as each group is going to receive a set of clue strips, I'm going to just give you the document that is the clues, so everybody will see all the clues. But with your students, if you were in person, you would cut these clues up in strips, so everybody would get a stack of, we'll see how many clues there are, 12 clues, and the group would hand those out. So in a group of 4, everybody would get 3 clues. And then you're going to go around the group, sharing the clues in kind of a round robin style. So, so you read them out loud. When you hear the clues, know that each clue exemplifies or illustrates one of the following economic principles. People respond to incentives in predictable ways. Property rights shape incentives. In markets, profit attracts competition and allocates resources to their best use in order to respond to demands from consumers. So every clue is going to kind of fall into one of those 3 categories. So your job is to first sort those clues into 3 piles. Now you can't really take and sort them here, but what you'll do is just when you're reading them, be thinking about each clue. Is it a clue that provides information about how people respond to incentives? Is it a clue that provides information about how property rights shape incentives? Is it a clue that provides information about how markets, profit, and competition shape incentives? Then you're going to think about the clues overall and ask yourself, why the Soviet economy, how was the Soviet economy similar to or different from the economies of the West? So there's some questions here you might ask as a group that you might discuss, like how did intellectual property rights in the Soviet Union differ from those in the US? What incentives motivated researchers in the USSR, and what incentives motivated researchers in the US or in Western economies? How did invention and innovation spread in the Soviet Union, or how do they spread in the US? And then as you're having those discussions, your job is to come up with a solution to the mystery. Solve the mystery. I like to say in 1 sentence, but since you're teachers and teachers tend to be a little wordy, I'll give you 2 sentences, okay? In up to 2 sentences, you're going to solve the mystery and explain why, despite their high levels of education and their wealth of resources and their government's commitment to and support of research, why the Soviet standard of living was half that of the United States, okay? So let's see here. Let me see. Oh, here's my link. I'm going to give you the clues now. So go to the Zoom chat. and click on this link that you'll see right there. That'll take you to the clues that you're going to go around and share. Each person just take a turn reading, one, and then you'll go back around so everybody has a chance to read some clues, and then discuss the clues and decide and use these questions, kind of these discussion questions I've given you as a guide to guide your discussion and come up with a solution to the mystery. So what I'm going to do is when you're in your room, I'm going to broadcast this slide with the instructions, but you have a link to the clues so that you can read those clues. Okay? Any questions? So you might toggle between the Zoom window and the clue window. When you need to go back and look at the instructions, you'll go to the Zoom window. Okay, Debbie, go ahead and send them away. Right, welcome back, everybody. This time we're going to start with group 2. That's great. James, Jeff, Matt, and Tiffany. Who's going to share your solution for your group? Did you guys come up with your final solution, your sentence?
James, you're muted.
Sorry, I was muted. We thought that with a lack of incentives in a socialist economy, they couldn't convert an invention to a commercially viable innovation because there was no incentives to do so.
Okay, let's go to group 3. Group 3 is Christina, Laura, Milan, and Nydia. Who wants to share for your group?
I think I'm group 3. Is that what you're talking about, Debbie?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to start, and then Miss Mora is going to be my closer. Okay, so the solution is, it doesn't matter where you live. It could be communist Russia, America. There's 4 factors of production: capital, entrepreneur, land, and labor. Although or despite the USSR having huge amount of human capital, there needs to be private property protections and incentives. So I was thinking of the I pencil Milton Friedman, like just let people be free, pursue their own self-interest, whether it's Disneyland or whatnot. And if they could have the adequate incentives, then people will try different things. It's an interesting stew, a pot of different ideas, but somehow, some way, this invisible hand will bring everything together and be more prosperous. I think my closer is going to come in right now and talk about maybe number 10 about the patents, how even entrepreneurs that work for the government, the state owns it or something like that. So my group member is going to take over.
Okay.
Yeah, and to sum it up, it was just that at the end, the Soviets, the government owned everything, and there really wasn't an incentive. And so even when they did create patents, they were going out and they were patenting foreign first so that they had some type of a control. But so it all came down to that we were saying that the need for the government to control ended up limiting the capital or the money that these people were able to make from the patent. So really it ended up going nowhere because the government was trying to control it, versus the US, that if they knew that it was for the betterment or if it was going to help or be in some way beneficial, then it would be shared.
Okay, thank you, Nydia. Group 4, that's Chassie, Justin, Carrie, and Mackenzie.
So we had pointed out that there were government incentives, but they were from the government. So that kind of gave them a controlling factor and limited innovation.
Okay. Yeah, they're not the same kind of incentives as private incentives. Group 5, Anna, Quanta, Rachel, and Richard.
Okay, so we put, although the Soviet Union provided inventors with needs, there were no real profit incentives to go above and beyond the status quo and compete. If the state saw no value in a project, they would not really provide protection in the form of property rights or resources, which ended up forcing their innovators to seek support elsewhere.
Okay. And group 6, Alicia, Athene, Jennifer, and Jennifer.
I think I have the sentence, so I'll read it. So, and everyone else kind of hit on all the ideas already. The Soviet government held ownership, didn't have real patents, didn't incentivize innovation or competition because people will be paid all the same.
All right. And group 1, Jill, Jonathan, Kristen, and Ray.
Okay, we discussed pretty much everything all the other groups did, but I want to add a key word that Ray brought up, and that is productivity. Productivity was very much limited because of in the USSR, because of the lack of again, the lack of incentives. So even though they had more resources, more people, they just weren't as productive because there was no incentive to be so. So it was a productivity issue.
Yeah, and competition creates incentives to be more productive, to provide a better product. So you guys did a great job. I think if these are the debrief questions you might use with your students, if you had groups that weren't able to quite get there, weren't able to solve the mystery. But I think, you know, if we compare and contrast who engaged in research and what incentives they had, you guys pointed out that there were incentives in both places, but they were different. There were private incentives, you know, in market economies where there's government incentives. Maybe it's about prestige or getting an award or recognition, but that's not as powerful as, say, profit or monetary incentives. And that kind of addresses the second bullet point there as well. Comparing and contrasting the USSR and the West in terms of the relationship between the researcher and the consumer. In the West, researchers are motivated to solve problems for consumers, to provide things that they want. Whereas in the USSR, researchers were incentivized to research for whatever the government told them to research. So they ended up being really good in space travel and in certain things and providing Olympic athletes, right? But not necessarily in providing for consumers wants and needs, things that would improve their standard of living and make life better. And how did the Soviet institutions of property rights and markets differ from those in the West? And you guys, every one of your groups pointed out that incentives were different, property rights were lacking. When you don't own something, you don't have the same incentive to profit off of that thing or to make the most out of those resources. And when we talk about the ultimate property right is a property right in yourself, the ability to make that decision, you know, for you and what you want to do with your labor and your human capital, you know, what's between here. So great job, you guys. Oh, I had a couple more. Let's see. So if we were to, this third bullet point, talk about the institutional differences that help to explain the differences in standard of living back in the two nations in 1990, I'll just sum up what you guys pointed out was that those institutions of incentives and property rights were really powerful. And when those are lacking, we don't see the same kind of entrepreneurship and innovation that results in higher standards of living for people in a nation. So even though, like I think who was pointing out the factors of production, I apologize, but that we have these factors of everybody has, you know, resources, and they were rich with resources in the Soviet Union. But it can't just be about the resources. You have to have the right institutions in place. And they were lacking in those institutions of incentives and property rights particularly. So those institutional characteristics, if we were to say what was more important, was that their level, which category of national characteristics best explains differences in nations' level of innovative activity? Would it be population characteristics, physical characteristics, or institutional characteristics? And the answer always comes down to institutions. We have different populations, different, you know, resources available, but the countries that end up thriving have a certain set of institutions that include not just property rights and incentives, but markets that encourage competition towards a more productive use of resources. So you guys did a great job on that mystery. This is just the conclusion from the lesson. I'll go ahead and read it. In countries with high levels of innovation, you would expect to find relatively open markets, secure intellectual property rights, because these institutions foster incentives that encourage innovation by rewarding the successful innovator. Factors such as relative wealth, levels of education, and abundance of resource do not adequately explain differences in innovative activity. The presence or absence of institutions that provide incentives for innovators does explain differences in levels of innovation. The major innovations of the 20th century came from nations with open markets and secure property rights. So go ahead and copy. I'm going to put this link in the chat as well. And see, go ahead and if you want to take a picture, if you want to do it with your phone, you can take a picture with the QR code. I'm going to escape out of here so I can copy this link real quick. There we go. And I'll put it in the chat for everybody. So you can also, if you're on a computer, go ahead and click on that link in the Zoom chat. And that's going to take you to the folder I showed you that has the 3 different parts that we broke the curriculum up into when we're doing it for 3 full day workshops. And in each one, you'll find the lessons, the 6 different lessons and all the activities. This one was activity 3. Any questions about the activity today? Thank you everybody for attending. Enjoy the rest of your evening and we'll see you at the next program. Bye guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Debbie. Nice
Bye,
seeing you
everyone.
again.
Have a good night.
Thank you.